I want to try and do the same thing we did with Excel using Power BI. I can create all these wonderful, beautiful visuals. I can make them interactive. I'd like to ensure that I can get them to the audience I want to get them to. As we saw with our Excel demonstration, one of the issues is whether we create a static image or a dynamic image. In Excel, how did I pull up a static image? How did I create static image from Excel, put it into PowerPoint or Canva or some other location? How did I do it? Yeah. A copy and paste works. A screenshot works, right? So let's go into Power BI. Open up Power BI to any of the module reports you've already done. So here I am in Power BI. Open up something I already did. Visuals, slicers, pie charts, everything I created back in lesson 22, 4 or 5 weeks ago. Can I copy an element, a visual from here? If I click on one of these visuals and hit Control C, can I then paste that into a slide in PowerPoint? Try it.
So for the interpreter, are you copying and pasting it into PowerPoint?
Yes, PowerPoint into a PowerPoint slide. When you click on a visual, you'll know you're on it because you'll be up here. You'll be able to see options for that visual. If you've got the other options open over here on the right, like edit visual, etc., you'll be able to make adjustments. But I'm in reader mode, not edit mode. You can see at the top, all the way on the right in that top taskbar, it says edit. That's how I know this is in reader mode, not in edit mode. So if I click on this visual and I hit Control C, I go over to a blank PowerPoint sheet and I hit paste, nothing happens. If I go into edit mode in Power BI, see how the right-hand side of the screen changed? So I get all those edit options available to me. And I can see the box around the visual I had clicked on being available to me. And then I hit copy. And then I hit paste. Nothing happens. The items and visuals created in Power BI are dynamic objects, not static items. If I want the picture from this pie chart in PowerPoint exactly as it appears here, I need a static item. And that means I can't simply copy and paste it, Joe, although that was a great idea. There's something wrong with the way the Power BI visuals are stored, that they can't be accessed in that fashion. I do notice that up here in my edit mode, let me move this out of the way, I have a pin, an alert, a filter, a focus mode, and if I click on more options, there's a share, export. There isn't a copy option there. So if I want this as a copied object, I have to make the copied object. And that's a screenshot. How do you take a screenshot on the Mac? Say what? Command-Shift-4. When you do Command-Shift-4, that gives you a little drawing icon, right? A little reticle. And then you can draw out the box around the object you want. Command-Shift-4. There's my little reticle right there. It tells me what pixel I'm located at. And I can highlight the section of the screen I want. If I'm careful about it, I can precisely cut out the pie chart I want. I hear a noise down in the lower right corner. I see a little picture of it. That's now on my desktop, labeled screenshot with a timestamp. And that is a picture I can embed into it, anything. It's a picture now I can do whatever I want with. If you want the whole screen, then instead of Command-Shift-4, do Command-Shift-3. You won't get the little targeting reticle. You'll just hear the shutter sound of a picture being taken. The entire screen will flash for a split second. Hey, I took a picture. It looks just like this. And again, it'll get stashed in your desktop. Desktop, usually. So now I have that item. If I switch over to PowerPoint and I want to add a picture, see there are 6 options in this blank slide? This little setup here in the middle. Those are things I can add in that it knows of by default. A video clip, another PowerPoint item, but this upper left one is add a picture. And then it says, where do you want to get it from? Your device, the web, stock images, brand images, other icons that it's already got in a library. Just like with Canva. Be careful with permissions for photographs you get from other sources. I know that pie chart is mine. I can use it however I want. But if I pull a stock image, I need to know that I'm obeying whatever copyright or publication rights that PowerPoint has already gotten to use that image. There may very well be watermarks or other proof of ownerships on that image. It won't be on an image I have. It's mine. Maybe I want to put one so I can keep ownership of that image later. From my device, I want it off my desktop. Here's my screenshot. Poof. That's a static option. What do you see on the right side margin at this point? All this garbage on the right side. This is basically PowerPoint's version of Copilot making suggestions to me. They call it Designer. That's what it says up here at the top of this box. It's trying to create a layout style for me. And again, given options, that might be exactly what I want. If I have a design, a layout, a setting I know I want to use, I can ignore this. And I can close it and it'll go away. By default, Designer is active each time you open PowerPoint. I have not found the switch to turn it off by default. I'm sure such a switch exists. I just don't know where it is. That's a static image. It doesn't change if my data changes. In Excel, I was able to update stuff. That's a picture. It's a frozen moment in time. If I want something that's updatable, I need to ensure that the things I am accessing in Power BI are directly connected to this. Remember, Power BI works from whatever data file you've linked it to. You change that data file in OneDrive or on your computer that's linked through, it should update. You can, in Power BI, update that file whenever you want. How do I get it to carry through to here? I need some way of making, not my PowerPoint, but my Power BI file visible. To PowerPoint. I need that piece, that whole thing, to be accessible from somewhere. Where is the Power BI folder, file, object that I am working on stored right now? Right, but where is the Power BI file, that stored version? Where is it stored? This is a PBIX file. Like an Excel sheet is an XSLX file. Like a Word document is a DOCX file. That object that contains all this data lives somewhere. Where? In my folders, stored in some account, in some cloud access, right? I have a Microsoft Office account, the Microsoft 365, the apps thing that we got on, right? To get to Power BI in the first place. So somewhere in that cloud server, this file exists. You cannot get this file that I am showing you because it is in my folders, stored in wherever that Office folder is. So how's PowerPoint going to get to it? How many of you on one of your or more of your devices have a streaming account for music? What service do you use? Spotify? Apple Music? Where's the music? Where's the song? I don't care if you're listening to Chapel Roan or Iron Maiden, where's the song? You don't walk around with a pocket full of CDs. You don't walk around with a pocket full of 12-inch records anymore either. No giant pile of cassette tapes. Where's the song? Where's Apple Music keep it? Where's Spotify keep it? Some database somewhere, right? And you paid for access to that database. You have an account name and a password, and it lets you into that database. This Power BI file is not available on a database unless I put it out there. If I want, in the midst of my presentation, to have my audience look at, examine, and even manipulate this Power BI file, I need them to be able to get access to it. I want them to be able to play my song. How do I do that? Well, in Power BI, under File, there are several options here. Please notice one of them explicitly says export to PowerPoint. That'll take the whole Power BI file and make it a PowerPoint. Again, that doesn't share it to people. That simply makes it my presentation looking like this. But I need to publish this somewhere. I either have to have some portal, some website, some service that will allow me to put this out there into the world. One of the other options over there, embed. Securely embed this report in a website or portal. If you have a dedicated website for your project, or a project you're going to be developing includes this website, or your job option has some sort of data portal already, then you can just put this Power BI file there and access it from wherever you want. Joe?
That option.
What options do you see over there?
Publish to web,
Keep going.
export. I do have export to PowerPoint and PDF. Also have download, print, and save too.
Okay, so embed is what's missing from your version?
Yeah.
That may be because I'm using the paid version trial at the moment. If you look all the way up here in the upper right, you'll see it says Power BI trial, 24 days left. You probably don't have that on your screen. Unless you've told it, hey, I want to use this trial period, that's fine. But if I can't embed it in a portal, then maybe I can publish it to the web. I can put it out on the entire World Wide Web. What's the problem with that part? What's it say under publish to the web? What's it say? Joe?
Anyone can see it.
Export this report for public access by anyone. Your business data just got loose. Now that's, again, potentially a problem, but now you say publish it on the web, maybe your website has a password and account requirement like Spotify does, like Apple Music does. You can build a website that only certain people can see without password options. If you publish it there, then you can do this. But let's try and publish to the web. If I click on publish to the web, what's that mean? Mikhail? I'm going to need permission from the administrator of my Power BI account. That's, for me, is IT over there in Reeves. I have to go over to them and say, I want to do this. You need admin privileges to be able to do this, and then I can publish. Somewhere in the company you're going to work for is somebody who is in charge of data protection. They're the ones who's going to keep you from saying, no, I want to put this up here, but then anyone can see it. We don't want that to happen. You're violating all sorts of rules about our data when you do that. So at the moment, the type of account we are using and the permissions we have from our admins on IT means the only thing I can do with Power BI is embed static behavior at the moment. But these options for dynamic behavior are available in the work environment. I wanted you to be aware of them before you leave here. Somebody says, hey, make this so that I can access and adjust and do things and use the drill downs and the zooms and all of those things that we created in Power BI. I want to be able to do the slicing. I can't do that in the midst of a presentation unless the slicers are live. The only way that's going to happen is if I've got access to the Power BI file through PowerPoint. Questions? When you can publish, you get a URL, you get a link, and that web link will take you in PowerPoint to the Power BI site directly. It won't require you to do a separate login, a separate open, and a separate piece. It'll pop up on its own. Purpose for embedding visuals into another media is the same every time. I want you all to tell me a story. As I was talking about on Tuesday, it isn't just pile of numbers, thank you, goodbye. It's hooking your audience. It's making sure that what you are doing creates a way for your information to be useful to the people whom you are telling it to. So now I have more tools. I can put all this together, right? So let's think about this. So far in this course, I've given you a project and I've said, here's what I want you to do. And I've laid it out step by step by step by step. Your boss, whomever that will probably define your tasks far more nebulously. Investigate this. Tell me what we can do about. Very broad, very open-ended instructions. I need to know what data I'm going to look at. I need to know where I'm going to get it. I need to know, once I've done my analysis, how do I hang a story around this? What problem am I solving? What did my insights to my data show me? What did I learn from examining all of this information? What's the takeaway? After I finish telling you this story, what do I want you to do? If I don't have that sentence somewhere in my behavior, in my discussion, then I might as well be standing up here juggling. Joe, hand?
I was just scratching the wall.
Okay, my apologies. Without a result, an answer to the question that was coming up, what I want you to do needs to be an explicit statement in here. And then I can figure out, once I've got the information, how do I tell that story? I want to make sure that at the end of whatever story I'm telling, you know what I learned, where I learned it from, and why those are the conclusions I came up with. I'm going to pull an example I did yesterday in another class. I have an advertisement in front of me from a manufacturer of light bulbs, fluorescent lights. You know one of the problems with fluorescent lights? How many of you have seen a fluorescent light break? Whether it's one of these long tube bulbs or a compact fluorescent. How many of you have seen a compact fluorescent or a fluorescent light bulb break? Nobody's ever broken a light bulb. I'm amazed. Wonderful people. If you break a compact fluorescent or a regular fluorescent light bulb, there's this really weird white powder on the inside of the glass. It's why they all look kind of frosted even when they're off. The problem with that powder is it contains mercury. Why is that a problem? Mercury is poisonous. Literally, it will kill you. If you break a fluorescent light bulb over a carpet, you are supposed to cut that piece of carpet out and throw it away in a hazmat environment. You're not even supposed to vacuum because that'll aerosolize all the mercury powder. Breaking a light bulb's a pain in the ass, especially fluorescent light bulbs. So I have this advertisement from the light bulb company. Our fluorescent light bulbs contain less than 3.50 milligrams of mercury per bulb on average. Along comes a person from the EPA. The person from the EPA says, I want your evidence that your light bulbs are this good. If I work for the company, what do I do? Gather up a bunch of light bulbs. And I take them apart and I measure how much mercury is in each one. And I take the average of my bulbs. Now, maybe some of my bulbs are a little higher than 3.5. Some of them are a little lower. But I said on average, 3.5 milligrams of mercury. I gather my data. I run a t-test. Remember those? And I say, if I'm right, the number will be maybe a little bit higher, maybe a little bit lower, but my t-test, the p-value will tell me there's not that much difference from 3.5. On the other hand, I run this test and I see, holy crap, there's way more mercury than there should be. If I'm from the company, I want to make sure that the EPA sees our numbers are good. If I'm from the EPA, I want to know your numbers are accurate, whether they're good or not. But I need to know how to tell that story. Otherwise, my face is going to end up on the news. Sassmore's light bulbs poison children. That's the story. And they're going to tell it that way, aren't they? They're going to fine my company thousands of dollars for killing people and spreading mercury. Bad idea. I don't like this. So I want to make sure I tell the story that says we are doing the right thing. We are not causing mercury to escape into the atmosphere, into the public. But that means I need to take the statistics, do the analysis, figure out what the story is around that. How do I then show what I did? Well, I'm going to take a sample of bulbs. Maybe I'll have to do it more than once. And I'll make some distribution. I can make some sort of bar chart about the averages. I can show all sorts of sampling behavior. Those of you who are looking at me going, I've never heard of such things, you'll hear more about that when we do statistics next semester. If I want to make a pretty presentation out of that, maybe I'll grab a template off of Canva. Maybe I'll import that into PowerPoint and use it so that I can create an appropriate presentation to the EPA and say, this is what happens with our light bulbs. At the end of that narrative is the call to action step. EPA, approve these light bulbs. Publicly acknowledge that we are doing accurate work. But when you build the presentation you're going to create, make sure you've got your format, your font, your colors, make your slides and visuals nice. There's all sorts of narrative decisions that happen here. Questions? I'm going to ask you to put all this together. The project for this module is a story. But it's also, just like it was back in module 3, a group project. So I'm going to ask you again to create some small groups to work together, groups of 3 or 4. Everybody's responsible for turning their own stuff in. But I thought I would actually add to this idea. How do we actually have a good group working on a project? In some of your group projects that I got back in Module 3, you told me who did what. You defined roles. And you said, this person is going to do this person is going to do this person is going to do this. And that I saw that in your breakout. Some sort of a Scrum idea like that with roles defined for everybody, that's perfectly fine. There are tools that will help you manage that. Things like Jira track Scrum roles and behaviors. You can turn the way you arrange your group into part of the task. You can decide, no, that piece of the task is really big. Let's break it into littler pieces. Each task has to have a responsible party, an accountable party. Those might not be the same person. I am responsible for giving you this information, but the person who owns the project is accountable to someone above us. So I give you the information. You are responsible for giving it to someone else who just gets consulted. Who do I just ask about this stuff? And who do I just have to tell about this stuff? So responsible parties, accountable parties, consulted parties, and informed parties. You all got an invitation a couple of weeks ago to go to a presentation by our VP liaison for Middle States. It was like 11:30. It was right after this class would have been the day I canceled class 3-4 weeks ago. Did any of you actually go to that? I didn't think so. But you all were informed it was occurring. There was an email. There were tents on the tables down in the lunchroom. There were posters around campus. You were told about it. That makes you an informed party. At some point, different groups within the undergraduate population will be consulted for their opinions on the way things are going at Seton Hill. Consulted parties. You may or may not be part of a focus group brought in to talk about these things. In a group project, someone needs to be responsible for managing risk. Now, in this particular class, that's a really low-level idea. There's not a lot of risk associated with these projects. On the other hand, if you have a business that's thinking about changing directions, what are the risks of doing that? What are the responses to those risks? What can we do to hedge our bets? When I do a statistical analysis, maybe I do it by talking about the light bulbs, right? I gather one sample of light bulbs. How many light bulbs do you think factory makes in a day? I don't think it's more than 7,000 or 8,000. I don't know. Somebody get online. How many light bulbs are made in a day? The internet should be able to answer this question somehow. I don't even know if I'm within orders of magnitude. I said thousands. 5.5 million bulbs are made. Say it. Worldwide.
2 billion a year
Holy moly.
in the US.
So 2 billion in the US a year. So, okay, wait. 2 billion. That's 9 zeros, right? Divide that by 300, that'll come down 2 more though, so that'll go to tens of millions a day in the US. That's a lot of bulbs. And I checked 25 of them from one company. So clearly I need to do this more than once. How many times can I actually gather up light bulbs, shatter them to figure out how much mercury is in them, and not cost somebody because I'm taking all their light bulbs. Maybe I can simulate this idea. Maybe I can use some other statistical analyses methods to generate a better sample. There are lots of options and tech tools available to help you keep your project together and your group functioning well. I put a link on our Canvas page to a list of project management tools and strategies. I think that's helpful. So, I'd like you to think about the groups you want to work in for this next project. This next project is worth more than the previous ones. So take your time about it. I'm going to give you the rest of today and all of Tuesday to work on this. If you've got the group you want to work with is the same group you worked with last time, fine. Just let me know. But if you're here, maybe you should do some of this now. Our project for Module 6, wrong button. Again, includes a CSV file for you to pull up all the data. And lots of instructions on things you are to do. Please make note of what is delivered in this. You will need to give me multiple files. Everyone is responsible for their own uploads. Questions? You've got half an hour left in today. If your group members are here, or if you want to form a new group with the people sitting around you, groups of 3, 4, whatever, let's go to it. All right? Off we go.
You had said, next week, Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
a request, please. Per group, would somebody email me with a list of group members? Thank you.